Niacinamide is everywhere, but does that mean it belongs in every treatment? And more importantly, do you really know when to use it, who it's for, and when you should leave it out? Let's take the hype out of niacinamide and look at what it actually brings to professional skincare. Welcome back to Beauty Babble. I'm Suzanne, Sedesco certified esthetician, former spa owner, and educator and mentor to many beauty professionals near and far. After so many years in the industry, one thing I know is that there's always another ingredient, technique, or trend we're being told that we need to know. And my goal with Beauty Babble is to cut through the noise and bring back to what actually matters in professional practice. And today we're talking about an ingredient you've probably noticed everywhere, niacinamide. It's in serums, moisturizers, cleansers, masks, professional treatment products, and even in body formulations. So why has this particular ingredient become such a staple? Is it really as versatile as we're being told? And how do we decide when it actually makes sense for the client sitting in front of us? That's what we're really going to explore today. And I want you to keep 4 questions in the back of your mind as we go. When, why, who, and why not? Because knowing an ingredient is one thing. Knowing how to use it with purpose is where professional treatment planning really begins. So let's start with the basics. Niacinamide is a form of vitamin B. It's water-soluble vitamin that's been used in skincare for quite some time. So this isn't exactly a new ingredient. What has changed is how widely we're seeing it used. And I think what makes niacinamide interesting isn't that it does one particular thing. It's that it can support several different aspects of skin function. And that's really why it became such a versatile ingredient in our skincare today. So let's look at who might actually benefit from it. So for example, dry and dehydrated skin, what I'm thinking primarily about is barrier support and conditioning. So niacinamide can support the skin barrier and help the skin maintain moisture. But I wouldn't describe niacinamide as a moisturizer. It's supporting the skin function. It isn't replacing your hydrating ingredients. If we look at skin that is oily or congested, niacinamide can also be useful because it can help support the sebum regulation and a more balanced looking complexion. And if I like that distinction, well, I like it because we're not talking about stripping the skin. We're looking at support balance, right? Supporting the balance of the skin. For dull or mature skin, I'm looking more at that overall quality of the skin. The barrier support, conditioning, the appearance of the texture, and even that uneven tone, along with antioxidant support. Again, it's not a magic anti-aging ingredient. It's contributing to several things that can help the skin look healthier overall. For the uneven tone, niacinamide can help support a more even looking complexion. And it can improve the appearance of discoloration. But again, I would call it a supportive brightening ingredient, not an aggressive pigment treatment. So for barrier stress skin, this is where its barrier supportive properties become particularly interesting. But And this is important. Just because an ingredient can support the barrier doesn't mean I'm automatically going to use every niacinamide formulation on compromised skin. So if we look at a sensitive skin or reactive skin, this is a very good example of why we need to know or look beyond the ingredient name. You might hear that niacinamide is great for sensitive skin, rosacea, reactive. It can certainly have some very supportive benefits, but I'm also looking at the concentration, the complete formula overall. What else is in the product? And what the skin is doing today, because we know that can change every time your clients come in. So I'm not automatically thinking sensitive skin is niacinamide. I'm assessing every time. And for an acne prone or breakout prone skin, it can provide support through things like sebum regulation, barrier support, and the appearance of that post-breakout marks that can happen. But again, niacinamide isn't an acne treatment by itself. It's one of the pieces of the overall treatment plan. And that's an important distinction. So I'm not saying niacinamide treats all of these concerns. What I'm trying to say is it can support different aspects of skin function, that are relevant to these concerns, right? And then this brings me to something I think is really important, because for professionals, we often talk about niacinamide as, though it's the product itself. It isn't. It's an ingredient within a formula that's been created. So for example, if we look at the skincare Twell, they have the product called Intensify. Yes, niacinamide is one of the key ingredients, but it's not the only ingredient we're putting on the skin using that product. We also have retinol pulpinate, which is a vitamin A derivative. Chamomile for that soothing and conditioning, and also there's vitamin E, an antioxidant, and it also conditions, supports the skin. So when I'm choosing a professional product, I'm not just asking, does it contain niacinamide? I'm asking, what else is in this formula? Does the entire formula make sense for my client today? That is much more of a professional way of looking at ingredients. Now, if we bring this into the treatment room, because knowing what an ingredient does is only half of the equation. I also know we need to ask when it makes sense to use it. Does it fit during cleansing or exfoliation, massage, mask, even finishing product? And the answer isn't, necessarily going to be the same for every single client. Then I'm going to ask why. What am I actually trying to accomplish in this treatment today? Is it barrier support, conditioning, oil balance, uneven skin tone, overall skin health? And then who? Who is in front of me right now, today, when I'm working on them? Not who came in last week or they came in last time. What the protocol says isn't for everyone. It's a different one every time. So what does this particular skin need today? And finally, why not? Is the skin reactive? Is the barrier compromised? Are we combining it with other active treatments? So does the complete formula make sense? These are questions, that can turn up when you have knowledge into this, then you have knowledge in treatment planning every single time. And when we can take that thinking one step further, what happens when we're using equipment? So for example, when you look at high frequency, hydrodermabrasion, microdermabrasion, diamond tip, LEDs and light therapy, microneedling, these are all tools, but they're not interchangeable. And, an ingredient that's beneficial, well, that doesn't automatically belong with every modality. So let's look at microneedling. This is a really good example. Microneedling changes the skin barrier and it creates microchanneling. So we can't assume that any niacinamide containing product is appropriate to be using during microneedling. What I'm trying to say is we have to consider the specific product, the formulation, the modality we're using, the skin of the client, and the manufacturer's protocols as well. And that's really the biggest lesson here. So don't just ask, can I use this ingredient? Ask when, why, who, and why not? So is niacinamide worth the hype? Well, I think it's earned its place in professional skincare, not just because it's a miracle ingredient, and certainly not because everyone needs it. It's valuable because it's versatile. But the real skill isn't knowing that niacinamide is beneficial. The real skill is being able to look at the client in front of you and decide whether this ingredient in this formula at this point in the treatment makes sense. And that's how we move from simply knowing ingredients to actually using them with intention. Thanks so much for joining me today on Beauty Babble. I hope this gave you a slightly different way of looking at niacinamide or potentially other ingredients. And maybe the next time you see it on an ingredient list, you'll look beyond the marketing of this product and start thinking about the entire formula and the client in front of you. And please, if you enjoyed today's episode, don't forget to like and share and leave a comment. Your comments and feedback are always welcome, and sharing the episode helps other beauty professionals out there find Beauty Babble too. Thanks for listening. Until next time, keep learning, keep questioning, and keep growing. And I'll see you next time on Beauty Babble.